Howdy, welcome back to Dion Talk. I wanted to call this video My Buy Box. What is it and why you need one? But I wasn't sure everybody would know what a buy box is. It's a term that's used by a lot of investors, and when you're an investor, it makes sense. But when you're learning how to be an investor, you have to find out what that is first. So, if you're unfamiliar with the term, the buy box is when you're looking at an asset class, which of those assets fits in the box that you would take a deeper look at and possibly buy, making it a buy box. In this video, I'm going to ask for two favors. The first one I'm going to ask for now. Please have a pen and paper ready. The human mind is capable of retaining 3 facts. When you're given a 4th fact, you don't lose the 4th fact, you lose all 4. Someday, I'm going to follow in Michael Zuber's footsteps and write a book on reaching financial independence by buying buy and hold rental properties.
Not today.
And someday, I'm going to create a course on investing in real estate. But not today. And someday, I'm probably going to get married again.
Yes, but not today.
But when I do create the course, this video will be in it. That's why I'd like you to have a pen and paper ready, because this is one I think you should take some notes from. A little behind the scenes information. I record the videos and then I make the thumbnails. And currently, I think the thumbnail is going to be something like buying a rental property, my search criteria. This is how close I came to that. When I first started looking for rental properties, my search criteria was, I want to buy something that makes money. And with my first rental, I didn't even do that, because I was thinking my mortgage payment is this, I need the rent to be more than that. Not thinking about things like CapEx. In the future, you're not going to need to fix things like a roof, foundation, or like right now, I'm looking at some septic issues on one of my properties. You need to set aside money for that, maintenance, and eventually you're going to have a vacancy. Even though my longest vacancy so far has been 4 days, there is a cost to tenant turnover, and those are expenses that are above the mortgage. So when you're making rental income, you need to calculate that in there with the amount that you need to profit to make it worth even doing. There's a big problem with having the search criteria of, I want to buy rentals that make money, because that's a lot of properties to look at. There are people who own commercial properties where they rent to a restaurant and they make money. There are people who own apartment complexes who rent out the apartments and make money. There are people who own houses and rent out the house and make money. There are people who own storage sheds and rent out the units and make money. And if you're looking at every single type of rental that there is, that's a lot of work and a lot to learn. So one of the things that's important early on is trying to figure out what your end goals are, because how you're going to invest is really going to help you narrow down what you look for. If you're planning on wholesaling or flipping or using the BRRRR method or doing like I do if you're super lazy and buying rent-ready or already occupied rental properties, your search criteria is going to look very different. There's something that Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time says that I really like. Mike says that you need to understand what an average deal is in the market you are investing in so that you can recognize a great deal. And something that Mike points out is that it would be really hard to understand what is an average deal in several different markets. If you're investing where you live or at a distance or trying to pick a market that makes the most sense for you, it would be really hard to get all of the data together and understand each market. So knowing where you want to invest, to me, is as important as knowing what you want to invest in. What this means is one of the first things we need to set up in our search criteria is our footprint. What is the physical location of where you're going to be investing? This helps you narrow down your search. For me, it's 2 counties, Pierce and Thurston County in Washington State. It also helps you narrow down the way you look for agents, property managers, handyman, or anything that needs to be close to where you're investing. Normally, what I recommend when picking your footprint is investing somewhere where you have a tactical advantage. Either you live there, you used to live there and know the neighborhoods, or you have boots on the ground. You know somebody who lives in that location. After making sure you have that tactical advantage when you're looking for an area, I would look for things like a growing population, more than 2 economic drivers like a base, a port, a college, a hospital, a Boeing or Amazon terminal, several sources of tenants so that if there's some change with one of those companies, your entire portfolio isn't destroyed. Knowing where you're going to invest is important, but knowing what type of asset class you want to invest in is just as important. There are some pretty big differences between commercial and residential. And even in commercial, there's differences like apartment complexes or strip malls. And in residential, there is small multifamily, single family, house with an ADU. So narrow down what you want to invest in to help you narrow down what you want to search for. I chose close to where I live so that I can self-manage. Residential, 4 units or less, because I like 30-year fixed rate, low interest rate loans that I can house hack. I've house hacked twice. Doesn't always have to be what you do, but it was included in my search criteria so that it was an option. My original search criteria was for single family houses in my footprint. But in that area, they don't cash flow. So I shifted to small multifamily. I've been able to consistently get at least a 10% cash on cash return with duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes in my area. Now we get to the point of the physical aspects of the properties that matter to me. And this is my search criteria. This does not need to be your search criteria. And while I have several things that I list out, this is my perfect wish list. All of my properties do not hit all of my criteria, but in the times when they're missing something, the other things that I want are there strong enough to make it a property worth pursuing. Since I primarily invest in small multifamily, I prefer side-by-side units. Units where there are tenants living above or below another are more likely to have noise complaints, or if there's a leak, it affects 2 units instead of just 1. So far, I've been able to do this with all of my properties. The next thing that I like is at least 2 bedrooms and a garage. More space equals more stuff, so less likely to move. I do not have a garage on all of my units at all of my properties. I prefer washer-dryer hookups inside each unit. I haven't yet, but if I ever bought a property that didn't have washer-dryer hookups, I would add them in the units. Tenants living in a property with shared laundry or having to use a laundromat are just waiting for a place to open, and having washer-dryer hookups in the units really helps me keep turnover to a minimum. I like to start with knowing where I want to invest and what I want to invest in. But then, to help me narrow down my search, I also need to know how much I can borrow. If you've seen this video, step number 3 is talking to a lender to have them look at your income, debt-to-income ratio, credit score, the amount of reserves you have, and let them give you a number so that you know what to set your search for. I like to set my search a little bit above what I can qualify for. So if I can borrow $400,000, I would set my search for $450,000. And right now, it's a seller's market, so things aren't sitting on the market very long. But it's not always going to be a seller market. The market is on a pendulum. It goes seller, buyer, pretty far out to the seller side for the last year or so. But in a time when things sit on the market longer, because right now they're 2 minutes to 2 hours usually, but if you start seeing properties sit on the market for 10 days, 20 days, 150 days, you can start making offers below the asking price. And if you can only qualify for 400, I would be looking at properties above that so that when you see something that's been on the market for long enough to make a slightly below asking price offer, you can get it. At the beginning of this video, I said I was going to ask for 2 favors. The second favor I'm going to ask for now, and it's actually something I'm asking for to help you. In the comments below, please type out your search criteria. Because as an investor, most of us are looking based on emotion. And when you write out actually the factual, tangible aspects of what you're looking for, that will help you narrow down your search to things that you can take action on. Feel free to leave out the location that you're searching in. Just put the number of counties or the number of zip codes. That way you don't feel like you're creating competition. I really wish I found the content in this video 10 years ago, because that would have helped me save a lot of time and effort. I hope that taking the time to make this video helps you. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
just a little thank you and a reward for people who made it to the end of the video. A lot of teachers will use different ways to help a student learn something. And some teachers like to use music because music creates memories and it helps us retain information. So I sat down and I created some ballads on making investing stick in our memories. Here's what I came up with.